salty Gulf Coast to the rolling high plains, to the piney woods in the east. All across our dear Texas, folks need good food to eat. Our farmers and ranchers are heroes. They've always made Texas great. Texas agriculture matters. It's the heart of the Lone Star State. Oh, Texas got it all, y'all.
Well, howdy, neighbors. I'm your Texas Agriculture Commissioner, Sid Miller. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Texas Agriculture Matters, right here on RFD TV. Today, we're going to talk about a crowd-pleasing equestrian event that draws in the most elite horsemen and women and the greatest of equine athletes. Originating in the early 1800s, the cutting horse was a tool American ranchers depended on to maintain a successful day-to-day operation on the ranch. In a time when land seemed limitless and fencing was scant, cattle ranchers grazed their animals on wide open range, relying on the help of their equine counterparts to herd and cut out cattle when the time came. The horses who embodied amazing cow sense and demonstrated the ability to gauge a cow's next move were highly prized among the cowhands. Now, throughout the years, large cattle operations migrated to using machinery like trucks and squeeze chutes, and consequently the act of cutting cattle transitioned from a ranching necessity to a highly competitive sport. The very first advertised cutting competition was held at the Cowboy Reunion in Haskell, Texas. That was in 1889. Now, thousands of people gathered to watch the competition. Many traveled by wagon or horseback. And Old Hub, he was a 22-year-old cutting horse, and his rider, Sam Graves, won the grand prize. It totaled $150. He beat 11 other fellows out of that competition. Now, a little over 20 years later, the first recorded arena cutting competition took place at the Southwestern Exposition and Fat Stock Show right here in Fort Worth, Texas. And in 1946, 13 cutting horse owners met during that same stock show to establish a standard for cutting competitions. And they formed what we know as the National Cutting Horse Association. The very first NCHA show was held in Dublin, Texas, and it was in that fall of the same year. Today, the sport is filled with a rich history, exceptional bloodlines, and extremely high stakes. The NCHA now has over 15,000 members across the United States and 20 countries, and they are awarded over $39 million in prize money during the year. Hey, these cutters don't mess around. Now, let's join Tammy Ardner as she visits with someone who is very passionate about this sport. The sport of cutting is just another way Texas agriculture matters.
It's what we call the Super Bowl of our event. These 3-year-olds have never been shown before, so they've got about 2 years of training on them.
Each December in the Will Rogers Coliseum in Fort Worth, cowboys come from all over to compete in the NCHA Futurity.
I guess that's what makes it rewarding, is when you can train a horse to put your hand down once you put your paw on his neck and you load all the accountability on him, and he can outthink that cow by himself. It's just rewarding, I guess. It's fun. It's, I've been a cowboy my whole life.
Scott Hulme brings his best 3-year-old from his ranch in Vernon, Texas.
This little mare, she is by Caddy Hawk. She's out of a daughter of Smart Mate that's out of a daughter of Dual Ray. We bought her. Actually, I wasn't even looking for her, and my son found her in Montana at the Billings Livestock Sale. And he came to me and said, "Dad, there's a Caddy Hawk mare in this sale. She's kind of cute." So I just bought her. I didn't give a lot for her, so we really didn't know how, just finding her at a sale barn somewhere, and she turned out to be the best colt. So I went on with her, and here she is,
Hulme and the other competitors lope their horses and warm them up before their 2.5 minutes in the competition ring. That's where their goal, or the horse's goal, is to keep at least 2 cows separated from the herd.
To separate them from the other cows as quietly as we can, to hold that cow until he stops moving or he turns away, So that's your goal. Sometimes they're really good. Some of the better runs today have been 2-cow runs, and they just held the cow longer, so that, you know, the degree of difficulty goes up, because the longer you hold that cow, the more he desires to get back to the others. It takes obviously great horses and a lot of work. I mean, it's not a 9 to 5, it's a 16, 18-hour day deal.
This Idaho native has called Texas home for years. He does some roping and he used to do snaffle bit, but cutting is what makes his heart skip a beat.
If you could try to study it just a little bit, and you can really appreciate what these horses are doing on a loose rein, on their own, and you start to understand that it needs to be so quiet and yet electric when it can be. When you start understanding that it's all loaded on them, I think you'll start to appreciate it. And you got to understand and appreciate all aspects of it, like the basics of this, and we're ranchers, so the basics of this is ranch work.
Hume trains horses for a living and loves to see a horse achieve its potential in the arena. For him, it's not just about getting the highest score or taking home the biggest check. It's about continuing a legacy that has its roots deep in the heart of Texas.
If you appreciate an intelligent horse and history, you know, I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, why a lot of younger people maybe can't quite get into this. I think if they understood the history of it, because without a history we have no future. We have to study that. So if we understand the history and why we do this and why it's so special in Texas, primarily because of where we live and where this is where the cowboy originated. This is where the cow horse, the cutting horse, originated. So once you understand all that history, it just makes it all that much more interesting to me.
I'm Tammy Arender for Texas Agriculture Matters.
Well, howdy, neighbors. Today it's my pleasure to have Jay Winborn joining us. Jay serves as the Executive Director of the National Cutting Horse Association, and he has an extensive background in developing and growing brands and businesses. Jay, thanks for being with us, buddy.
How are you? Thank you.
I'm doing great. It's a good time to be in the horse business,
Yes,
I
sir.
think. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So, grew up in North Texas. My family was involved in the horse business, but mainly on the thoroughbred side. Spent a lot of time traveling across the country in the horse industry. Had an accident in 1998 that forced me into the conventional business world and worked for a couple of major brands. I worked for Red Bull as an event director for about 8 years, and then was a marketing director at Hatco. Longed to get back into the horse business and wound up as executive director of the Rain Cow Horse Association for about 8 years. And then the Cutters asked me to come over and help them out.
Well, Red Bull, that's, still agriculture, right? It's still
It sure
bull
is,
business,
yeah.
so we'll take that. So tell us about we got a rich history right here in Fort Worth, Dublin, Texas. Just a little history for the folks on the cutting horse industry. I think that's fascinating, the history on it.
Yeah, the first recorded cutting was in 1898 in Haskell, which is the North Texas area, and then in 1919 we had the first cutting competition in Dublin. And ever since then, it just kind of grew and grew and grew until 1946, where the National Cutting Horse Association was established.
Well, tell us about this National Cutting Horse Association and since its founding and what is it today?
So as of today, we are over 14,000 members, which is our largest membership since about the mid-'80s. And we do over 1,100 events a year with 3 major events here in Fort Worth, Texas, our Triple Crown. We kick off our year today, our competition year today, with our Futurity. They are limited age events. We have a 3-year-old Futurity. Then we have a Super Stakes for nominated horses that are 4, 5, and 6-year-old in March. And then our Derby, which are 5 and 6-year-old horses, in July.
And that all makes up what you call the Triple Crown.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, how old are these horses when they start competing, and tell them what a futurity, a derby, a lot of people, me and you know, but a lot
Right.
of our listeners don't know what that means.
So futurity is for 3-year-old horses, and that's what we are starting today. We started at 8 o'clock this morning. We got about 1,500 3-year-old horses entered.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of horses. And the way that kind of takes place is we have a large sale that takes place at our futurity. People buy 2-year-olds out of that sale in hopes of bringing them back the next year to compete in the futurity.
Okay.
Those horses that go through our sale are nominated through our stallion program and become eligible to compete at our Super Stakes, which is in March. They are the 4-year-olds, and then we have a derby competition for our 5 and 6-year-old horses.
5 and 6-year-olds.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Explain what goes in when a person competes to our listeners.
So basically, cutting grew off what happens on the ranch naturally when you're trying to separate a cow from a herd of cattle and the necessity to do so. You have 2.5 minutes to ride into the herd, pull a cow out, and hold it until that cow turns away from the herd or refuses to turn to the herd. You want to try and cut at least 2, sometimes 3, but you're scored on the ability of the horse and how you manage that cow in front of the herd.
People haven't seen that before. It's magnificent.
It is.
And it's even better to sit on one. You better get a deep seat, though, I'm telling you.
You better hang on.
Okay. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more from Jay Winborn. We're going to learn more about cutting horses right here on Texas Agriculture Matters. Well, welcome back, folks, to Texas Agriculture Matters. I'm your host, Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Now, let's continue our talk with Jay Winborn, who's the Executive Director of the National Cutting Horse Association. So, what are some of your all-time favorite horses, maybe sometime all favorite trainers?
Well, just to think off the top of my head, Hippie Sand Badger and Buster Welch. We lost Buster here this last year.
Right.
He's one that always comes to mind that's memorable. Highbrow Cat, obviously the impact that horse has had on our industry. And looking to today, Adon Benuelos, who's a phenomenal trainer right now in the arena, is having a fantastic year. There's so many, it's hard for me to say, oh, this horse in particular, because we've had a tremendous amount of phenomenal horses through the history of the NCHA, as well as trainers.
What are some of the stallions that have had an impact on the cutting horse industry?
Metallic Cat for sure,
Okay.
52 million plus sire, as mentioned earlier. Highbrow Cat, going back to some of those foundation horses, King. There's and not just the cutting industry, the horse industry in general, across, you rope. You've seen some of those bloodlines filter through the rope horses. The cutting sires have had a tremendous impact on the equine industry in general.
So what's the future hold for the cutting industry? Where do you want to take it? What do you see coming down the road?
So I think the most important thing right now, Sid, is and we've seen an uptick of success for many reasons. I think COVID caused people to kind of recheck the way their lives were. And we had a lot of people that had not been involved in cutting for about 10 years that came back and joined, as well as an influx of a tremendous amount of new members. And beyond just positioning ourselves as a horse association, we want to invite people to join our lifestyle. You know very well, when you get involved in horses, it becomes a lifestyle. And we have third and fourth and working on fifth generation families involved in cutting, and it becomes a very central part of what a family does.
You know, cutting's very special to Texas. I mean, it's where it started, on the big ranches with no fences. It was a necessity. I'd say it's very addictive. I mean, it's kind of like cocaine. You get in the cutting business, you're there, but
right.
I mean, you just can't leave it. So why is that? What is it that draws people in to the cutting horse industry? It's hard to explain, but maybe you can.
I think it's the excitement of actually sitting on a cutting horse, and that feeling of you're surrendering basically control to the horse and letting the horse do its job. Combined with all those things that surround it, the camaraderie of the people you're with, the family component, the man against beast, so to speak, when you go out and hook onto a cow, and that feeling. Plus, it is a direct link to our Western culture, and it keeps that going. I mean, it's something that we're all trying to do, is preserve our way of life, and cutting is a definite link. I think of all the performance horse disciplines out there, and I'm not discounting any of them,
Sure.
but cutting is the most true to what ranch cowboy work is.
I would have to agree with that. Last question. This horse industry is obviously a big part of Texas and what we do. So, but on the big picture, why does Texas agriculture matter?
So, you mentioned the horse industry. Texas leads the nation in production of horses. I think we have over close to 1 million registered horses in Texas alone. Obviously, a lot of those are tied to the big ranches. It also agriculture is our way of life. It's part of preserving Western heritage. Our people not only are involved with horses, but a lot of them are involved deeply in the cattle industry as well, and raising beef cattle.
Sure.
So it's a core part of who we are and what we do.
Jay, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you,
We've
sir.
all learned a lot more about the cutting horse industry, and thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Folks, now let's take a look at another one of our great Go Texan partners. For over 20 years, the Texas Department of Agriculture's Go Texan program has helped promote products made right here in the Lone Star State. From boots to salsa, Go Texan members make the best stuff on earth. Now, friends, let's take a look at one of these fine Texas businesses and why they are Go Texan proud.
Go Texan every day.
Siren Rock Brewing Company is a destination brewery located in Rockwall, Texas. We are a 13,000 square foot brewery with a full tap room, kitchen, 2 beer gardens, a full production facility. We have private event space. We have a lot going on, and we're a great facility. I got involved with Siren Rock Brewing Company as a founder with my husband, Corey. We formerly owned a technology company based here in Rockwall, and we sold that company, and we decided we wanted out of that industry. So we wanted to get into something new and more fun that we could give back to the community. And we love beer, so we decided, why not open a brewery? Hayes is our head brewer. He hails from Chicago. He's been here for about 2 years now, and he's doing some fantastic work. So our brews, we have a full lineup. We have about 6 beers that we put out as core beers throughout the year that we also distribute out to the market. We have some specialty beers, some seasonal beers that we brew, well, twice a quarter. And then we also have some taproom only beers, some funkier stuff, some small batch brews that we brew only here for the taproom. We are a full production facility. Everything we serve in this building is made in this building. We use a lot of local ingredients in our brews. We do some collaborations with other breweries as well, so we're really good at partnering with different people. We also partner with the local farmer to give back our spent grain. We have a full kitchen that serves not your normal bar food. We have a really great menu that we've curated with our in-house chef. We have a lot of chef specialties that are very popular as well. So what we wanted to bring to Rockwall was a whole destination, and we really felt it was very important to us to be part of the downtown district in Rockwall, be part of the community. We're very invested in the community and we like to give back. So building this from the ground up, especially during COVID times and all the challenges that presented, was really a really good step forward for Rockwall. We bring something that was new to Rockwall, something that hadn't been here before. We're kind of a welcoming space as you come into downtown. We do a lot of events and a lot of things with the community, in addition to our tap room here. So what we really hope that people leave here with is the wow factor, the experience that we really wanted to give them, which is an elevated sense, not your typical brewery. You walk in and you see the glass windows looking out on our beer gardens. You see a lot of nice furniture. You see some comfortable couches. You see the nice bar, and people walk in and they're just like, this is amazing. And so we really want them to leave with that sense of what a brewery, an elevated experience is, and then go tell all their friends and their family and bring them in as well. We are dog friendly, we are kid friendly, we are family friendly. We want to be the venue that you come to no matter what occasion it is. You can come for a birthday, you can come with your family for dinner, you could rent out the space for an event. We do a lot of events. We've even done weddings. We've done a whole brewery buyout. We became a Go Texan member because we love Texas. We really wanted to get involved with the program, with the state, and really be part of that community as well. Community is very, very important to us, giving back locally, partnering with local people and local establishments. So it was very important to us.
You're Texan every day.
Well, neighbors, thank you for joining us for another episode of Texas Agriculture Matters. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the sport of cutting here in Texas. Now, in today's cutting competition, you have 2.5 minutes to show the judges just how good you and your horse are at cutting cattle. During the allotted time, the horse and rider must cut at least 2 cows from the herd. Each rider selects 4 additional riders to assist them in the arena. 2 herd holders and 2 to keep the herd from wandering out of the arena. These are called turnback riders, and they keep the cow from escaping to the far end of the arena. Judges score a run on a scale from 60 to 80, with penalties given for, whatever miscues there might be. Beyond that, judges enjoy seeing a good show. The bigger the stop and the prettier the step, well, the better the run. Especially here in Texas, cutting horses are treated as competitive athletes, and their riders are professional sports competitors, making cutting one of the most prestigious equine disciplines in the world. As always, I'd like to close by saying thanks to every Texas farmer and rancher who works from sunrise to sunset to help keep our rural heritage alive. And finally, here's today's cowboy logic. Hey, if you're gonna run for the big dogs, you better get out from under the porch. Thank you, God bless, and remember, friends, Texas agriculture matters.